Hi, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about CSS selectors. I'm also going to be going through what they do and what types of selectors there are. So you're probably wondering what a selector actually is, because we haven't actually talked about this at all, and it's pretty much one half of everything that you do in CSS. So as you know, you have two different documents. You have your HTML document, which is kind of your structure, gives all of the different text and content of the page, and then you have your CSS document, which is going to be for all the styling. Now, because the two documents are kind of disconnected, you can't just go and type random things and have them appear where you want them. You need a way to actually assign these styles and properties to elements on the page. So we do this with something called selectors. So a selector is pretty much a way of grabbing an element from an HTML document and then styling it. So it's kind of like a target in a way. There are many different types of selectors, and they all work in different ways and are used for different purposes. So I'm going to be going through three with you in this video. So the first one is the element selector. The element selector is the most basic of all of them. Pretty much what you do is you find the name of the tag that you want to select or target. So in this case, it would be the paragraph tag or the P tag. And then you have the selector here. So pretty much how a selector works is you just type out the selector, and then you have curly braces, and then you have your properties. We'll go with this in much more depth towards the end of this section. So you go through and you select, you type out your tag name, and pretty much what that's going to do is select all of the elements on the document with that tag name. So there we go. That is the first one. The next is the class selector. So the class selector is very similar to the element selector, except it goes by class name. So you can see here that we have some class attributes here where we assign the class. Don't worry, we'll go through with this in the next video. But you can see we assign the class to these values, and pretty much all we have to do to reference this is type dot, which is the class prefix for CSS, and then the name of the class, and then again the properties. So you can actually use this, the reason that we use classes over things like element selectors is because you can apply this class to specific items, and it's only going to style those specific items. So for example, maybe if you had a subtitle and you only wanted to style that subtitle, you would go through and actually apply that class to your subtitle, your element, whether it's a paragraph or a header, and from there you're going to go through and add it. So there we go. The next one I want to talk about is the ID selector. So these two, the class and the ID selector, are pretty much identical. You have your attribute where you assign the class or ID, but the only difference is the prefix here is a hash symbol or an octothorpe or hashtag. So then you type out the name of the ID and it puts it here. Now, I am going to go through and actually talk more about when we should use classes and IDs, and I'm going to talk about some of the differences between them. And although they look very similar, we actually have very different purposes for them, based on how you use them in your HTML document. So those are some of the basics of selectors. Like I said, we're going to go through and pretty much use this all the time during our course. So we're going to go through, use them, and add the properties. So it's pretty good that you get familiar with these now, so that when we move on, this becomes kind of like second nature.